Do you wear a fitness band? Like this one? Have you got a smartwatch? Well, if you have, you'll actually be keeping track of how many steps you take each day. You'll probably be checking on your heart rate when you're working out. You'll probably have data on your resting heart rate. You may get data on your sleep patterns, with some detail about how well or how badly and for how long you sleep. You may be measuring your blood oxygen levels, and fairly soon smartwatches and fitness bands may be measuring our blood pressure, blood glucose and so on. That's all very helpful, but who else has access to that data? Well, the answer is, of course, that the people who manufacture the fitness bands and the smartwatches will have all of that data uploaded to their own files, which they'll keep in the cloud. Does that matter? When you actually agree to the product's terms and conditions, you're signing over that data. They may not share it, they may not give it away with your name to anyone, but of course they have it all for research. And believe me, that is unbelievably valuable. We've never before tracked the resting heart rate of a large number of the population as they go about their day-to-day business or as they sleep. We've never before had sleep data on a large number of people who are otherwise healthy. We haven't had blood oxygen level data, and we certainly haven't had mass BP and glucose level data, but soon all of this information will be streaming back to the companies who provide these devices. But wearables per se, in all their various different forms and with all the functions they'll soon be offering, will actually be worn and used by a greater and greater number of the population, and I can foresee a time in 10 years or so when almost everybody will be wearing some form of wearable, most of which will include some sort of location tracking. Is that okay? And is that okay for the data to be shared? Well, the first thing to say is that having data about where your child is, or data about where an elderly or vulnerable relative is certainly a very good and helpful thing, and it will be very good for security. But how about the data when we're just going about our normal lives, when we're just at work or at school or at college or just having fun? What about the data about what we do? And what about the joined up data of who we meet? Because if we're meeting other people whose data is also being tracked, these things can be put together by big data analytics, and all of a sudden a matrix, a network, is completely available to work out who sees whom, when, for how long, and so on. Does it matter? Well, that's something we as a society have to decide. But it will be very revealing, not just for the superficial level of marketing which allows people to try and sell us more things, but at a deeper level of understanding populations and what they do. And then there's the issue of the human rights over data such as sleep data. Some companies now that issue fitness bands are asking their employees to share the data with their employers about how they sleep. Well, I wouldn't want my sleep data shared with an employer. I may not have the sort of high pressure job that perhaps a pilot or a city trader has, and I can understand why knowing about an individual's performance and peak fitness is vital. But I believe something like sleep data is intensely personal, and I would be reluctant to share it. And then there's the obvious question about people in prisons, about people who are in some form of detention. As it becomes much lower cost and very easy to track them, what are their human rights when it comes to the point where they will be asked to wear wearables, just as patients in hospitals will be asked to wear wearables? It's not just a question of other people knowing where the wearer of the wearable is. It's a question of who controls that data, who has access to it, who has the right to research it, and who has the right to keep it for the long term. I don't think that in our rush for health fitness bands and for wearables, these issues have been addressed. But they need to be addressed now, because nothing more nor less than our human rights are at stake. Certainly I want a wearable that gives me data, but I want to choose with whom I share it and when I share it. And at the moment, that's not easily available to users.